Good morning, everyone. I will switch to English as we also have some non-Dutch speaking participants joining us today. Still people are coming in. Who? Yeah, good morning from my side. We will have some non-Dutch speaking participants joining us today. That's why we do this webinar in English. And of course, also our speakers from Landbell, Tamina Teuke and Siddharth Bagri. You all know that the PPWR legislation will come into force on the 12th of August of 2026. And this will have an impact on all the companies that put packaging on the market, also on the German market. And that's why we wanted to offer a webinar, especially for the Landbell clients. Just a few notes from my side. Now, maybe you also have a face who is behind all the emails. This webinar will be recorded. The slides will also be shared afterwards. And all the participants are currently muted. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat. And there's also plenty of time to ask the questions afterwards during the Q&A. Our speakers, Tamina and Sid, will give you a brief overview of the key aspects of the PPWR and also introduce a digital tool that can support in managing your PPWR requirements. Yeah, I would say, Tamina, I give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Hi, everyone. I'm starting to share. Let me know if it works.
Yes, we can see it.
You can see the screen. Perfect. So yeah, let's get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamina. I'm leading the sales team for international clients who are based outside of Germany here for Landbell. And fortunately, we have a great cooperation with the DNHK and work together for many years, and of course, work as well with you. My presentation is rather short today. I will give the floor to Siddharth Bagri in, let's say, about 10 minutes, but I would like to update you on PPWR. Probably everyone has heard about it already, probably not having let's say, the biggest clue yet, because we're just about to start. But I would like to recapitulate a little bit. I would like to have everybody on the same basis, and then we will move to the digital tool, and Sid will tell you how to monitor your obligations in regards to PPWR. And then there's obviously the time for questions. Let's see. Yeah, what we will be talking about today is a little bit about Landbell Group, key facts, PPWR, new obligations for companies, and a timeline. I will give a short insight in the sustainability and design requirements. And yeah, then we move right on to the tool. I would say, Laura, if you see that I'm going very much over time, let me know, because yeah, we shouldn't be talking more than 10 minutes as of now, and then we should move right into the tool to have enough time. Just an overview about Landbell. We are supporting companies to fulfill their extended producer responsibility obligations, their EPR obligations worldwide. We are headquartered in Mainz, and we are actually taking care of many streams. I will show you some facts and figures. There's a lot of tonnages here, a lot of high numbers. So we collect packaging, we collect WEEE, electrical devices, we collect batteries, and we have been doing so for quite a long time, since 2003. We are also taking care of other streams as chemical waste streams, textile waste streams. We are working with SUP, so there's quite a lot we are doing. And please feel free to approach the DNHK if you're having further questions regarding this. But this is the actual matter of our call today. It's PPWR, which stands for Packaging, excuse me, and Packaging Waste Regulation. A lot of words, a lot of pages actually to say. It consists of 188 recitals. Recitals are the explanatory text at the beginning of the regulation. They support the interpretation of the law, but they are not legally binding in a way. And what's very important to say as well, that there will be more than 30 delegated acts published, delegated and implementing acts. So the delegated act amends or supplements the content of the regulation, and the implementing act does not amend the regulation, but it makes it, let's say, operationally applicable. And knowing this, there will be a lot of changes still in due course in the future. So this means that somebody needs to keep an eye on this, needs to update you what's happening next, what's going to be in 26, 27, 28. So this is what we are here for. And yeah, we try to keep you updated. There are technical obligations, there are administrative obligations. You might need an authorized representative when you're selling to a country where you don't have an entity in. So there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration. Also, your role in the market is important. And all this is practically resembled in the PPWR on more than 300 pages and more than 70 articles. So quite a lot to read. We try to explain a little bit in a nutshell. In terms of timeline, as Laura said, the PPWR took effect on the 1st of February 2025, but with a transition period of 18 months. So it will practically, it needs to be, let's say, applicated as of August 2026. So this gives us a little bit of time, but as we are already in December 2025, 8 months or 9 months is not that much. What happened so far is that in November, actually just in the middle of November, 2 weeks ago, the German draft version of the Packaging Act came out. It's still being looked at, and it's being reviewed, and it will come out probably in January or February 2026 for Germany, which puts the PPWR from European level to German level. But there are a lot of open questions still. For instance, the Commission, the EU, wanted to actually publish a document with Q&As to make everything a little bit clearer. We are still waiting for this document, so this should come out in the near future. I wrote down fall 25, but that's that period can be extended, and I hope it will come out very soon. And as I said, from August 2026 on, it will be PPWR will be step by step implemented, and the 30 delegated acts will also be published in the future years.
Hoe krijg je nou geluid? Dempen, opheffen.
Sorry, could you mute the mics, please? Because otherwise everybody can listen to your conversation. Thank you. Let's move on to the little chart over here. It's just a little reminder what you have to be taken into consideration, sustainability and prevention requirements, so to say. Feel free to use this overview as a checklist of things you need to look out for. They will be relevant to you in the future, and this is exactly what the tool which Sid will present to you will explain a little bit more in detail. Where are you at the moment, and where do you need to be heading to be compliant with PPWR? Let's look, for instance, to minimum recycled content, to recyclability and packaging bans. I will talk to those in a few seconds. But also the minimization of packaging is very important, because as of the 1st of January 2030, you will only need to, or a 50% empty space ratio is only allowed. So you are not allowed to have more empty space than 50%. The method for calculating this empty space will only come out in February 28. So we still have a little bit of time, but it's not bad to be prepared for this as well. Labeling is also quite an interesting thing. because by August 26, the European Commission will actually define the label designs and the sorting rules. And by August 28, the labels will become mandatory. So if anyone is thinking about doing a packaging, like a marketing renewal, how you would like to have your packaging, or if you are planning on changing something, I would actually recommend to wait a little bit, because you will have more regulations or more clarity by August 26. So it's definitely worth waiting for a little bit of time. You see a little, the timing here again. So this should only depict to you that all the regulations will come out piece by piece. Some of them will come out of the implementing acts in 26, some in 27, but it will move on until 2040. So this matter of PPWR will be a task for all of us for the next, I would say, at least 15 years. There is quite a lot of working on this. I said that I would speak a little bit about recyclability. SID will also enforce this matter later on, but what's very important as well, if you're not having packaging which is recyclable, as of 2030, you will not be allowed to bring this packaging onto the market. There will be a definite sales ban. Obviously, there are exceptions for instance, medical products and contact-sensitive products, but for the majority of packaging, you will need to look at the recyclability of the packaging. You will also need to look at the minimum recycled content, which is really important as well. We call it recyclates, for instance. And as of 2030, for example, for every other contact-sensitive plastic packaging, you will have to have at least 10% of recyclates within your packaging. So that's quite a high amount. So what's really important at the moment is really to see where do you get the recyclates from? And sometimes you're probably not the one designing the packaging. So you should talk to the ones providing you with the packaging and ask them if there are recyclates in the packaging. That's very important for the time being. And this also brings me to the call to action, because there's a lot of things which you should do right now. We will demonstrate you the tool in just a second, which will also help you to get along. But for instance, you should look at things like declaration of conformity. When you're the manufacturer, you need to have that one ready as of August 26. We can give you more detail about this, but this would definitely lead too far talking about all this in the first webinar. As I said, you should check the recycling components in your packaging. You should speak or think about material efficiency. The labeling will be something you need to look at. And obviously, if you're selling abroad in different countries, you need to be sure that you are being compliant and that you are, for instance, registered with a PRO and pay the EPR fees. So that's something you need to look at. We can help you with this. And now I would say, I think we are still in due time, and Sid, I would actually like to have you on the stage right now to present the tool you implemented. So this is the founder of PackIntelX, and I would say, please feel free to present yourself, Sid, and tell us what you came up with.
Sure. Thank you so much for the introduction, and more importantly, the introduction on PPWR. I think there's lots of information which is out there, and the biggest challenge is how do you make priorities out of this information which is already out there, right? So our target is to more concentrate on how to break down PPWR into actions and then clearly define what has to be done in 2026 and what needs to be done, so 12th August 2026, and what needs to be done in 2028, 2030. And the biggest challenge with PPWR is it is meant for circular economy, but in 2026, it is more bureaucratic hurdle, and it is not really promoting circular economy in 2026, right? So recyclability, recycled content, compostability, this all comes later. in 2026, we are all focused more on conformity declaration, data management, right? So glad to give you a brief overview on what is PackIntelX, right? So I'll be sharing my screen. I hope that my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect, great. So I'm not a software engineer, maybe, let's say not the usual Indians are software engineers, but in this case, I'm not. What I come from is more, let's say, the sorting and recycling world. So I worked in the last 5 years with multiple sorting plants all across Europe and various recycling projects, whether it's on mechanical recycling or chemical recycling. I'm a plastics engineer from my background. And last year, I came across PPWR and realized very quickly that this is going to be a bureaucratic hurdle. And with that thought in mind, we started PackIntelX this year, and we are strong in 2 businesses. So our first business is the digital solutions, which is what we are addressing today. This is where we focus on data management, on fulfilling the PPWR compliance on paper, so through digital means. And our target is very simple, that all the requirements of PPWR on one platform, so that you don't have to engage with recyclability tool, then with consultants, then on your own SharePoint or SAP or to manage the data. You can do everything on one platform. And the second business where we operate is the operational solutions, where we actually do sorting, recycling, we trade plastic waste, and let's say we work with major waste management companies all across Europe. So we are a small and agile team. So these are colleagues who are involved in sales, marketing. We have a strong software development team behind us, and we have legal advisors from Germany and Eastern Europe who are then supporting us in understanding the regulations better. We are following each and every country at the moment. So as soon as the draft regulations come out, Germany is the first one who has given out a draft version of the national regulation, and very likely each country is going to give out a draft regulation. So we are following it, adapting ourselves with the developments. We are, let's say, we are getting quite some attraction because our solution is being appreciated in the market. Target is very easy. We want to be cost efficient and time efficient for our users. And our users are more brand owners, producers of packaging. If I go to the next, okay. This is now our platform. So some information on that. Like I said, target all-in-one, PPWR compliance, smart analysis. What that means is that you give your information once, and once you have given that information, we are analyzing different aspects of PPWR through that information. Yeah. And then what is the way to PPWR conformity? Okay. So this is a lot on theory. We can now check how it looks really in practical terms. Now I'm logging into my account. And as you see on the dashboard, we are showing the overview of the complete packaging that has been analyzed through me on my account, right? So I've analyzed 89 packagings. Some of them are test packaging, some of them are real packaging, which we are getting from customer requests that, hey, can you analyze that for us? So we are also doing that. Cost savings are digital platform versus lawyers. So I engaged with lawyer last year. I still engage with lawyers because to understand the regulation better. And every hour is a pain because it costs lots of money. So how do you actually save cost? By engaging in a digital platform as compared to engaging with lawyers directly. Then this is my average compliance score for 89 packagings that I've tested, and then 18 critical issues that I encountered in those packaging. What that means is, I'll take an English example. Yeah. So for example, my packaging input was CPET trays for food packaging application. And here, one of the biggest issue was estimation on recyclability of the packaging, status high risk. Yeah. So we show the critical areas which are under threat, And we are seeing some results in German, some in English, because our platform currently is in 2 languages, and we are working on expanding the languages one after the other. Then if we go down, we see what are the last analysis, number of tests that I've conducted, or the packaging that have been analyzed. We give regulatory updates to our users on let's say on free basis, because the regulations are something that we are following to be updated, and then we gladly give the information further to our users so that you are also updated with it, right? And then of course we share our opinion on bio-based plastics, on chemical recycling, what are the solutions. That's where we bring our knowledge from the operational side, so not just on theory, but exactly what is happening with these materials. Yeah. We have multiple services available at the moment, and some services are, let's say, coming soon. So one of the main service is PPWR analysis. I would not go through the whole service, just to give you a feel for it. Let's say that I'm giving a product here as chocolate packaging, right? And my product number. So where's my establishment? Let's say I'm based in Germany. And in which member states do you place your packaging on the market? So I place it in Germany, and I place it in Netherlands, in Poland, and Portugal. Now, what's your function in the packaging value chain? This is one of the most important questions in PPWR, because your function defines your compliance. Yeah. Now, let's say I'm unsure that what is the meaning of all these terms, then I can obviously check it here. So here we have the definitions from PPWR. And if I'm still unclear on it, then I can ask my chatbot in any language, whether it's Dutch, French, regardless of that, I can ask in any language, and the chatbot will give me the right answer. It's more accurate than ChatGPT only because it doesn't have access to the internet. It only has access to PPWR documents. Yeah. So, for example, I'm giving the question in German, and I hope it gives the right answer now. On the left side, if I see that what is my role in this section, and if I'm unsure, yeah, if I say that I'm importing some packaging, okay, so on the right side, I start getting the answer from based on PPWR. So my internet is to blame for the slow answer, not the chatbot. Yeah. Right, so this answer is coming from PPWR directly, and I can ask more questions. I can ask it in different languages, and I'll get. So this is the source, which is the PPWR document here. Yeah. Okay. So
Have a
now
good day off the box.
I'm sorry.
Could you please mute your microphone?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's say that I'm importing packaging from outside Europe, and I'm bringing packaging and I'm putting the packaging on the market, right? So I think I'm an importer. So here I'm an importer of the packaging. Now the question is, when I bring that packaging in the market, as I'm a chocolate manufacturer in this case, or chocolate brand, when I put the packaging on the market, is the packaging with my own branding? Yeah. So in this case, let's say I'm really talking about the sales packaging, the chocolate packaging, and that chocolate packaging would obviously be there with my own brand on it, right? So the moment I select yes, I get the answer that I would be considered a manufacturer in this case, because even though I'm not the manufacturer of the packaging itself, I'm using my branding on the packaging, right? So in that case, I'm considered the manufacturer under this and this article. Yeah. If I take the example of a carton box, because I'm having multiple chocolate packaging on a carton box, right? And if I'm then importing the carton box without any logo on it, in that case, I say no. Do I modify or repackage the product in any way? No. Or am I selling to micro enterprises? I say also no. So in this case, I'm not considered a manufacturer, right? So that's why our analysis happens on a packaging basis. It means if I was choosing the carton box as the basis, then my answers would be no. Or if I'm choosing the chocolate packaging as the basis, then here my answer would be yes, and then I'm considered a manufacturer. It's very dynamic, our platform, so it's giving you the answers based on PPWR, helping you save the efforts through, let's say, through consultants, through lawyers. Yeah. After I've conducted the analysis, so this will go on in which sector, etc. After I've conducted the analysis, I can see all my packagings in an overview. Yeah. So I'll go back to my some of the analysis here. So if you see, yeah. So if you see for different packaging, so a couple of them are test packaging, plastic buckets, paper, cardboard, non-food PET bottles. What is my PPWR score? What is my role? It is clearly defined that in these cases, I'm a manufacturer. In this particular case, it's written kein Erzeuger. Yeah, it means I'm not a manufacturer in this case. And then what is the recyclability? Am I on the right track? Do I need to focus here? The recycled content, packaging minimization, labeling. So all the articles of PPWR are covered. And now let's open a test packaging. Yeah, so plastic product. This is how the real result looks like after I've completed the analysis of one packaging. So my readiness for PPWR, product name is a plastic bucket. In this case, I'm a manufacturer of the plastic bucket. And on the right side, we show very transparently that when is the timeline? Because the last thing we want to do is give a false impression that you need to act on something now if the guideline is coming in 2028 or 2030. So that's why we give the transparency on the right side that on packaging minimization, even if you're at high risk, let's say that your packaging is not minimized, that you're using false bottoms or very thick walls, the guideline here is going to come in 2027 and you need to act from 2030 onwards. Yeah. So this is the case for all the articles on recycled content, recyclability. We also define if you have any restrictions that you're using. And then what are the next steps to PPWR? Because we are trying to divide it in what do you have to do now and what do you have to do later. So first priority until August 2026, you conduct a detailed packaging analysis of your portfolio. Why? To confirm in which cases are you the manufacturer and in which cases you're not the manufacturer. As a manufacturer, you have to make the conformity declaration. You need to ensure the technical documentations from your suppliers and do EPR licensing. Yeah. If you're not the manufacturer, let's say that you're an importer or distributor, then you don't need to make these documents by yourself, but you need to ensure that your suppliers are giving you the right documentations, right? So you store the documents, you don't create the documents. And then the other priorities after August 2026 would be recyclability analysis, recycled content, and other articles. Yeah. If let's say that you're focused on recyclability analysis for German market or for Netherlands market, where it's let's say a requirement by multiple retailers, then we also offer our recyclability analysis service. This is based on the German minimum standard, which recently came out. So I use Recyclas as well, but right now in the current stage, the German minimum standard is very close to PPWR because it has 22 categories. It has adapted a lot from PPWR, and Recyclas is still adapting, right? So I'm very sure that they'll come through. Yeah. So here we see that why is recyclability analysis important? So you optimize your packaging design for eco-modulated EPR fees and future-proof for compliance. 5 steps for recyclability analysis, and then we have given some examples that in which case do you analyze the lid separately, in which case do you analyze the whole packaging as once. And now this is also an overview on how we are going to do conformity, because conformity is going to be the most important aspect before August 2026, right? So going back to my chocolate packaging, so let's say my main product is a chocolate. Doesn't mean that I eat lots of chocolate, I just think everyone can relate to it. Yeah. Chocolate. So this is my main product, chocolate. Now I add packaging to my product because I'm having chocolate which are being distributed all across Europe within my own sites from site A to site B. So what are the different packagings in it? So the first packaging is the sales packaging, where I have the chocolate film, I say CE. The material is plastics, predominantly polyethylene, and it is flexible. So now I see that it must be in one of these formats. Yeah, so it's a film packaging, it's a multi-layer film or it's a monolayer film, but it's a film flexible polyethylene packaging. Now this packaging is created. So this is my first packaging, which is my sales packaging, right? Now it's possible that all the sales packaging I'm putting together in a carton box, right? So now my second packaging is my transport packaging. Now predominant material is paper cardboard. Here, create packaging. Okay. And now it's also possible that this carton box is going on pellets or it's on shrink wrap film. So I can keep on adding packaging, which are all part of my main product here, chocolate. Yeah. If I had other types of material here, let's say if I have a label on top of the carton box, now this label or some other label on the chocolate film, right? So now this label is additionally a component in that case. So what I can do is I can add a component. So now I say it's a minor component and it's a label. Yeah. So label on my carton box. I'm giving the component's name from my understanding. Of course, for every article, you would have your own component number, component name, create component. Okay. So label on my carton box. Yeah. Now I can do recyclability analysis. So I can say that I want to do the recyclability analysis of my chocolate film, or I want to do it for the carton box, right? And if I say carton box, then I can also say that I want to just do the analysis of my label, or I can say that I want to do the analysis of the carton box itself and not the label. And here I see that, okay, packaging name, carton box, packaging number, etc. And then there are, of course, multiple steps for me to analyze here. Yeah. Going back, how is this helpful in conformity now? This is now my packaging, my main product, chocolate. Under chocolate, I have two main packagings. One is chocolate film PE, another one is carton box for chocolate packaging. And below chocolate, below the carton box, I have my label. Now, as a manufacturer of the packaging, now I have to ensure conformity declaration for all three or two of the packaging in this case. Yeah. But I need lots of documentations from my supplier because now my supplier has to confirm that there's no PFAS in the chocolate film, there's no PFAS in the carton box. If other requirements come up in future, let's say certification from an EU institute confirming that there's no PFAS, in future there would be recyclability, recycled content, etc. Now under my chocolate and these packagings, I can add documents from my supplier. We have the possibility that multiple users can access our platform with one admin. So I'm the producer of the chocolate, so I'm the admin, and then I give access to 10 of the suppliers, and all these 10 suppliers are then adding documents here, once for chocolate film, then for carton box for chocolate packaging. As soon as I have the documents from all the suppliers, I get a tick mark saying that, okay, the documents are there, and now I can proceed to make the conformity declaration. So we offer the possibility as an authorized representative to save data with us, to manage all the data for the EU conformity declaration. Benefit is that through this portal now, you're able to store all the documents for the next 10 years for single-use packaging. All your suppliers are not directly contacting you with lots of questions. They're directly uploading the information on the platform. If required, we can also verify that the information is correct, or we can translate the document into multiple languages. Because if your supplier is in China and they're uploading documents in Chinese, I don't think lots of auditors in Europe speak Chinese, right? So you would need it in German or Dutch or some other language. And that's where we use lots of artificial intelligence to translate it and then manually verify that the information is correct, right? So this was an overview on how we are doing, let's say, data management on our platform. We, of course, have also our help center with which you can directly contact us. I would say 24/7 is a little too much, but 24/5, so Monday to Friday, anytime, no problem in that sense. And our target is to keep building services here, like also on EPR, also on packaging minimization, so that everything can be managed on one platform. I hope that was not too much information overload. Feel free to ask questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sid, for the clear explanations and also the helpful demonstration. I think it's a good idea now to have a look in the chat, because there were asked some questions. Maybe also Tamina, you can also answer if you want. One question: is it mentioned that from August 26th, the start of the general application of the PPWR is expected? When it comes to reporting, when is the first report expected?
My question to this question is actually, what are you defining with reporting? Are you defining the usual monthly or yearly reporting for EPR fees, or are you referring to the declaration of conformity, for instance? Because if you are referring to the usual reporting, which you are doing for EPR fees in every country, you are bringing packaging into both. Okay, that explains it very well. So in terms of the reporting, I would say I answer that one, and maybe Sid, you go into the declaration of conformity shortly, and then we're fine. But let me start with the usual reporting. The PPWR will be broken down on national law in every country, but still the PPWR overrules the national law. So whatever will be in the national law will also be in PPWR. And the reporting will change. There will be, as Sid already mentioned, 22 different fractions. Instead of, for instance, in Germany, there are 8 fractions now. So those will be a lot more. They will be a lot more granulated. And this is expected to be actually starting on the 1st of January 2027. But as I said, there are a lot of delegated acts and implemented acts. So we cannot give you the absolute 100% correct answer to this. But for what we are seeing right now for the year 26, everything will be pretty much going the same way like before. And then as of 27, in terms of reporting, it will definitely change. And in terms of the declaration of conformity, what I can tell you right now is that as of the 12th of August 2026, if you are a manufacturer of the packaging, you will definitely need to have that at hand. So you need to be ready with the declarations of conformity. And the PFAS, which Sid mentioned, are actually one of the first things you would need to check to be sure that you're having the right information at hand. Sid, would you like to add to that one?
I'm looking at the question that does the DOC needs to be added inside the packaging or only available when requested. So the answer is it should be available when requested, right? So the authorities would come back in 2027, very likely, and then ask for declaration of conformity. The challenge is going to be that whichever country where your packaging is placed, from those countries, authorities are going to come back and then they're going to ask for documents. And we have to see how things develop in the next month when each country gives out its own national regulation, if they're requesting documents in their local language or if they're also accepting documents in English. So I think this is going to be another bureaucratic hurdle. If, let's say, each country starts asking for local languages, then we'll need declaration of conformity and technical documentation in those particular languages.
Okay, then we have a question about compost packaging. If there are 2 materials, such as a paper box with a plastic window, is it mandatory to apply labeling to both materials, or can the label also be placed on paper component alone to fulfill the requirement?
So the labeling requirements are still not very clear from the PPWR. What we know is that there would be harmonized labeling, and we have to wait for the design, for the guidelines in that sense.
which will be coming out, let's say in 26, right? That was the delegated acts for that one, and it will come into action in 28. This is, I think, what I shared in the presentation.
So better to wait a bit with adjusting the packaging, the labels.
Absolutely.
Then question, will the PPWR have an impact on how the EPR is implemented? Should we expect changes in EPR reporting requirements, or will the current approach remain the same?
Yeah, I said the reporting will definitely change. There will also be different thresholds in the future. For instance, in the Netherlands, I do believe that you have a threshold of 50 tons of packaging before you do not need to report anything. This threshold will most probably will be lower at 10 tons. So the limit is at 10 tons. They are thinking about a tonnage of below 10 tons and above 10 tons. And for the reportings below 10 tons, you will still need to report, but it will be not as detailed as the reporting for the tonnages over 10 tons. There you need to have the granulated reporting with over 22 fractions. So yeah, this will definitely change.
Okay. And also, how does the PPWR affect the yearly submission of the total kilograms per material that our company has put on the German market in 2026 and beyond?
I don't really know what you mean by this, actually. Would you explain further, Perry? Is there a chance to go into detail?
You can also just unmute yourself and explain a bit.
But in terms of yearly submissions, I mean, obviously, as I understand correctly, there will be still, doesn't work. Okay. He says unmuting doesn't work, but maybe in terms of yearly submissions, there will be still yearly submissions to be done. In every country, you're bringing packaging on the market and you're the first one putting it on the market. Angifte in Dutch.
Yeah, that's the reporting.
Yeah,
the declaration. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, it depends a little bit on the country, but there will be what's the EPR, let's say, obligations. It's always to be part of a scheme to report your quantities and to pay the EPR fees. And you can only pay the EPR fees when you're actually reporting in a correct way. So I would say that stays the same. But obviously, in terms of dates, when you have to report, etc., these might differ from country to country, if that helps. Harry, I don't know. You can give a short sign if that's what you were aiming at. I'll take that as a yes. That's good. And for France, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. France is expecting at least a 1-year delay in PPWR rollout. Do we know if Germany is planning for a similar delay? First of all, I think France is one of the countries which is most advanced with this. I don't know, Sid, if you have made experience with French regulation lately, but they have a scheme which is called CTO, for instance, and they are very much asking a lot of questions already for a lot of cases. They are going into the reuse reportings as well. So I would say basically they are well advanced. It might be that in some points they are going a little bit slower, but for the majority of reports actually already in place, they are quite fast forward with PPWR, I would say, out of my perspective. So you might want to add something to that.
France is currently proposing to delay PPWR implementation instead of 12th August 2026 to 1st of January 2027. But this is still not fixed, that if France would be able to do that and if legally that is allowed for member states. If that happens, then it will create lots of let's say, confusion in the market, because certainly Germany will go forward with the timeline of 12th August 2026, right? So Germany will start will start the PPWR implementation from 12th August 2026. If France postpones it or other member states postpone it, then it could be a challenge because it will create different obligations before PPWR and after PPWR for countries. Yeah? So then you would have to, then there will be more bureaucracy, I would say, because then you would have to follow some other regulations in Germany and according to PPWR, and in France it will still be business as usual until the end of the year. But this is still in discussion, and I think we have 8 months to go, so we have to check how the national regulations are coming.
Then yeah, you already saw the question. I think
Right,
that's also one for you. You mentioned that we can assign packaging to a product. How does it work when we have multiple products rather than a single item like one chocolate bar?
Correct.
That's the
So
first one.
if you have multiple packaging, because this was just an example of one packaging, right? Let's say that you have thousands of packaging products as a mid-sized or a big company. And in that case, you can upload all the 1,000 of your packaging, right? What needs to be defined is this packaging your sales packaging, or is this a component of the packaging? That really depends from one company to the other. Yeah, but we have the possibility to handle thousands and thousands of packaging that can be, let's say, quite in an automatic fashion. They can be uploaded on the platform. How does this work? So I hope that answered the first question. In the second question, if we work with several suppliers, okay, so this for sure is a very important question, because no supplier should be able to see what the other supplier is doing. So only the admin is the one who has subscribed to the platform. So the admin is the one that gets access to add multiple suppliers, and only the admin has a full overview of what is happening. So individual suppliers' data cannot be accessed by them. Only the admin can see all the data that is coming out. Yeah? And we are following strict guidelines for keeping confidentiality. And we also sign documents. Let's say you have to sign a document with your supplier that they are going to provide all these documents, and you are able to see them on the platform, so that there is no issues of data privacy.
One more.
For chocolate bar, protein bar, chips, etc. Right. So that's the question. So in this case, every packaging is a different packaging, right? Because it's chocolate bar, protein bar, chips, etc. Unless they are all having the same size and it's the same packaging, which I don't believe, because it will have different brandings. Yeah. So in that case, yes, you upload the data for different packagings, chocolate bar, protein bar, chips, and then you do the conformity declaration for all of these packaging. If all of them are using the same cardboard box, then you only need to upload once the cardboard box data, and you need to have just one conformity declaration for the cardboard box. Yeah. So whether it's cardboard boxes or shrink wrap films, this is considered as one packaging. And if you have analyzed that packaging, you have the conformity declaration of that packaging, then it's perfect. You don't have to do it every time. Does that answer? Okay. All of the no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it also helps for the others to understand it a bit more if you have like a practical example. Yeah, there's another question. Do you have an example of the reporting tool, or how is this going to aid in reporting to different countries?
Is this EPR reporting, or is this EU conformity declaration reporting?
Maybe you can add that, Mark.
Then it's you, Tony.
Yeah, in terms of EPR, as I mentioned, it's still on country level. So when you're bringing packaging on the market in different European countries, and you're selling to the clients, then obviously you're in charge of EPR reporting as well. You will probably need an authorized representative for selling into different countries if you don't have an entity in that respective country, in that member state. This is a service which we will be offering as well. So that is something which you might want to keep in mind. In terms of the reporting, there is no unified reporting for the whole EU. It would be fantastic if we could do that, but still EPR is on country basis. and every country works differently in terms of reporting and in terms of different authorities which you will be working with. For instance, in Germany, it will be most probably the central agency you will be working with, still like you are doing today. What's known more or less as Lucid portal. This might ring a bell for a lot of you. So there will be no unified reporting for the whole EPR questions within Europe. It will be still fragmented into the different countries. But as I said, we can help you with these EPR obligations, and you will certainly need authorized representatives when it comes to different countries and if you do not have an entity over there.
So that was also one of the items in the new legislation in the verpakking, right?
Exactly. The authorized representative you are referring to, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correctly, yeah.
Okay. So we have some more time left for questions. So if you have still one question in the top of your mind about this complex topic, then now is your time to ask. Maybe also good to announce that the DNHK customers will also receive 5% discount on the first transaction of the PackIntelX tool. Afterwards, we will also be sharing some information about the tool. There's also an opportunity to have a few demos. Three free tests can be done with the tool, so you can have a look yourself, work a bit with different products you have with the packaging. That's something you can look into. We have another question. Is it possible to upload Excel files to the system, or do all packages have to be added one by one?
Right. So it's a very valid question. So we are building the solution for adding Excel files and also building an interface to ERP systems like SAP, if you're using that. And this is something that we can show in an individual demonstration. This is not yet live on the platform. So I'll just share the link where you can book the individual demonstration of this functionality. In terminal, this is again a question for you.
No, I'm fine. Let me rephrase. Besides registration of different packaging, how can this add in the reporting as a whole? Yeah, Mark, I'm sorry. It's just to understand correctly. So besides registration of different packaging, how can this add in the reporting as a whole? But now you're actually referring to the tool, right? Just to understand this correctly. Yeah, so this is up to you.
Right. So you don't have to report the EU conformity declaration. What we offer is the possibility as authorized representative for EU conformity to save all the data for 5 years or 10 years, so depending on single-use packaging or reusable packaging. And when any authority from a member state connects to you and says that, okay, I want to see the conformity and I also want to see the technical documentation, you can just guide them to PackIntelX, and then we have all the data stored from your inputs and from your supplier's inputs on the platform. So you don't have to report anything. Only when asked by an authority, then you have to present the information to them.
I think Laura texted me that
I'm
her
back.
internet actually. You're
Yeah.
back. Okay, very good.
Yeah, sorry,
internet is one of the biggest challenges probably,
Yeah.
apart from PPWR, I would say.
Yeah, you normally don't have any issues with the internet, and now when you have a webinar, then it happens. But you continue. That's great.
Yeah, I think Mark's question is answered. That's good. Yeah, and there's no more questions for the time being.
Okay. Yeah, then very good. We have 3 minutes left, but I think a lot of questions have been answered. So thank you all for your time. Thank you also, Tamina, Sits, for your explanations and the demonstrations. If you have any additional questions after the webinar, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will be happy to bring you in contact with the right contact at Landbell. And as mentioned, you will get the slides and some more information about the PackIntelX-tool, so you can also try it out yourself. Yeah, is there something you would like to add, or?
No, I think that's great. When you'll be sending out the information about the presentation and the tool, obviously not only trying out is possible, also booking is possible. You will also explain how that can be booked. So I guess this is something which brings you really up to speed with PPWR and shows you where your obligations are and where you are at the time being, because probably it's like a huge task ahead of everybody, of everyone. But as soon as you get into the work and actively work with the tool, I think a lot of things will be understood more easy, and that makes the whole process better understandable. So I think it's a great tool to be approached.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.